In this video, we are going to talk about the MongoDB Shell. Let's open MongoDB Shell using mongosh. Clear the page. MongoDB Shell is just JavaScript shell. You can write and execute any JavaScript code there. 1 plus 2, 3. You can execute any JavaScript here. I define a function that maps input x to x times 2. Let's execute that function. Okay, f2 4, f of 10 should be 20. We see that it works. Also, we can create JavaScript files and load them inside the MongoDB shell. To show that, let's create a script in my home directory, script1.js, and write some JavaScript there. For simplicity, let's just write console.log hello world. Okay, let's save it. And now let's run it using Mongo shell. mongosh, quiet, and the address to the script. We run that and we see that the hello world is printed to the screen. Now let's create another script, script2.js, and let's add some JavaScript code here. Define a function that maps the x variable to the x times 2. Let's save it. And now we run mongosh. Quiet. We want to run both scripts, script 1 and 2. To do that, we run like this. Now we see that the hello world is printed in the screen. But since there was no line to print it out in the screen, we didn't saw the script 2 is executed. Let's open MongoDB Shell. Clear the page, and now we can use the load in the shell. First, see that we don't have f here. F is not defined. But if we load the script 2, in which we have defined the f function, okay, it couldn't find the file. We need to change the path. Let's write like this. Okay, the script 2 is now loaded, and we type f. We see that now the f is defined inside the MongoDB shell, and we can use it in the shell. F of 2 is 4 and f of 10 is 20. So with that technique, with using the load function, we can bring your functions that we have defined in an external script to our MongoDB shell and use them here. And if we load the script 1, we see that the hello world will be printed in the shell. Okay, let's clear the screen. Let's create another script. In this script, we want to use some functions and variables which are specific to MongoDB shell, not JavaScript. Console log current DB. As you remember, we have used DB a lot in MongoDB shell. Let's save it and run it. Script 3. Okay, it runs perfectly. Let's edit that and add one of the helper functions that we used in Mongo shell in this script, show DBs, which we have used already to see the databases in our MongoDB server. Save the file and let's run that. Okay, we see that now we have syntax error here. We see that the show DBs has error. We cannot use that inside JavaScript file and run that using Mongo Shell. So we cannot use helper functions of the MongoDB shell inside the JavaScript files, but there are solutions for that. And here is the solution. We can say db.getmongo.getDBs. This command is equivalent to the showDBs helper function that we have already used in MongoDB shell. We can save this into a variable const dbnames and console.log databases and console.log this dbnames variable. Okay, let's save and run it. Okay, now we see that the code runs without any error, and we see the list of databases that we have in our MongoDB server here. Okay, now let's investigate other equivalents to helper functions of MongoDB shell. For example, we want to use the database CV app. By default, it is in test database. We want to use the CV app database that we have already created in previous videos. In order to do that, there is a command db.getSister db and CV app, the name of the database that we want to use. It will switch the database to the CV app, equivalent to use CV app command that we used in MongoDB shell. And then we can get the collection names using this command, which is equivalent to the helper function of show collections that we are familiar with it in previous videos. Let's save it into variable collection names, db.get collection names, okay, and console.log collections in CV app database are okay, console.log collection names variable. Okay, let's save the file and run it. Clear the page. Now run. Okay, we see we have type error here. It says that db.getSisterDB is not a function. So maybe in the version I use it is not available. In this version of the MongoDB that I use, let's edit the file. Go to this line that has errors. I will replace this getSisterDB with getMongo.getDB and then the name of the database, which is CV app. Save the results and run it again. Okay, now we see that it runs okay, but here the collection name is system because we actually could not be able to change the database. In order to solve that problem, we need to change the script, a minor modification to actually change the database. In this line we have to reassign the db variable. db equals to this. Now it will change the database to CV app. We run the results and we see that the collection names in CV app database is users, as we have created this collection previously. Okay, what if you wanted to load some functions or tools that you have used a lot in your MongoDB Shell operations and you want to save them somewhere, and every time you open a MongoDB Shell you want to have access to those functions and utilities that you have developed for yourself, or some settings that you want to apply every time you open the MongoDB Shell. MongoDB has a solution for that. There is a specific file that you can define, you can create, and MongoDB Shell will load that file automatically every time. The name of the file is mongoshrc.js. It will be created. You should create that file inside your home directory. Let's add some log files to that file. Okay, save it. So we have created in home directory mongoshrc.js, and now I run mongosh, and we see that when I run, this message is printed in my screen. We can add more useful tools, such as we can define functions here. Let's define a function. I define my func equals to x. Okay, x times x times x. I want to define the cube, so let's change the name of the function to cube. So the result will be x times x times x. Let's save it and open a Mongo shell. Okay, now let's run that function cube we had there. We have an error here, reference error. Okay, let's exit and correct it. Okay, I have typo here. Let's save the file and run it again. We see that the message is printed. Now let's use the cube function. Cube 3. Okay, it returns 27. Cube of 2 returns 8. Okay, we have defined the function and we have access to that whenever we open the MongoDB shell.